Traffic. You're stuck on a bridge waiting for the line to move, but you've been in your car for more than 2 hours. You're gonna be late to pick up your friend from the airport. Suddenly, the bridge starts shaking. Everyone gets out of their cars and runs to the other end of the bridge. But there are so many people panicking that they start pushing and shoving each other. The bolts on the bridge begin to snap one by one, making the bridge shake even more. Almost everyone has already crossed to the other side. But the first half of the bridge falls down, causing all the abandoned cars to slide to the ocean. You start climbing on them, trying to get to safe ground. Almost there, you jump over some cars and make it to safety. You make it just in time, because the whole bridge has collapsed into the ocean. Everyone is confused. You start to feel the ground inflating. Someone screams, and everyone starts to disperse like tiny ants. You run into the city center and see some buildings start to shake. The sidewalks are cracking. The fire hydrants burst open. All the glass in every building shatters. Everyone is running away from the buildings. Many cars are crashing into each other, blocking many paths for people. You see people get evacuated, so you follow them into the countryside, which has no buildings around. There are thousands of people standing side by side, scared and confused. Someone stands on a podium and announces that the Earth is expanding by 1 inch per second. Everyone is advised to go with escorted safety cars into the city to pack up their belongings and head to a new shelter. They have to be quick, or else the entire city will collapse. You enter one of these safety cars, and they take you back home. You can see the ground getting bigger and bigger. You reach downtown, where all the skyscrapers are. They're all swaying and might collapse any second. Suddenly, they all topple over each other just like dominoes. You were lucky enough to grab some of your things, but the buildings have trapped you inside. A helicopter comes out of nowhere to rescue you and everyone else. From an eagle-eye view, you can see the whole city crashing down. Every road is unrecognizable. Bridges and tunnels have completely collapsed. The helicopter takes you to the shelter, where you'll be spending the rest of your life. A group of scientists explain to you that the Earth's surface will increase by 40 miles in a month and by 500 miles in a year. That's even further than a trip from New York to Toronto. You're shocked by what you hear as the planet continues to expand. You were supposed to pick up your friend from the airport, but all the roads are destroyed now. Suddenly, you get a call from him. He landed just as the ground started expanding, and now he's stuck at the airport. You sneak off from the base, find a bike in the middle of the road, and head there. It'll take you a couple of hours to get there, since the helicopter took you to the opposite end of town. You ride along the bumpy road that has changed completely. The flat, open road is now full of many hills and trenches. The farmlands are inside out, and most mills are destroyed. You finally reach a mountain pass that looks very unstable. You have no choice but to go through it. It used to be a public hiking trail, but now it looks like a landfill. You get there slowly, looking out for any signs of danger. Many trees have been uprooted and are leaning on each other. Suddenly, a huge tree tumbles down and blocks the road in front of you. You speed up and decide to use the tree as a ramp. You fly across the obstacle, making it to the other side. But as you land, you notice a massive landslide. You speed away on the bumpy road. The whole mountain starts to shake and finally collapses. You're riding through everything, dodging every tree, rock, and bush until you make it out. You turn around and see the whole mountain collapse behind you. There's no going back. You continue through the open road until you see a broken sign to the airport. It's not far away, and when you finally get there, you try calling your friend. The phone no longer works. The reception is awful, but suddenly you realize all the cell towers are probably destroyed by now. The sun begins to set. You almost give up, but you spot him in the distance. You pick your friend up and head back to safety. As you ride back, the airport runway starts to collapse. It's located right next to the ocean. So with the infrastructure collapsing, ocean water begins to find its way to land. You're at maximum speed, trying to get away with a tidal wave gaining on you. With the whole mountain collapsed, you can't go back the same way. Water begins to touch your legs. The bike can barely make it out, but you find a little passage and escape. You detour and take the longer route through the city to get back to the shelter. But the city looks even stranger than when you were there in the morning. Many rats and animals are roaming the streets. Lamp posts and telephone poles are blocking the roads. Glass windows you saw a couple of hours ago are now all over the floor. It's too dark to see ahead, so you and your friend make camp in what used to be a convenience store. You make sure there's no roof above, otherwise it might cave in while you're sleeping. Many dangerous animals are lurking outside. You finally fall into a deep sleep. The next day, you ride along and the ground level gets even higher. In 24 hours, the ground rose by around 1.5 miles. You see a bunch of people walking, trying to find shelter. You tell them about the rescue team and explain to them how to get there. After a couple of hours, you finally arrive, but the place is deserted. There are no more improvised tents and buildings. All the people disappeared. You try to investigate and find out what happened, but you've got no clues. As you continue walking, you start to feel heavier than usual. Since the earth is getting bigger and bigger, gravity is getting stronger as well. You get tired more quickly than expected, and an uphill walk seems impossible. You get back on your bike and continue driving in search of answers. In the distance, you spot a dome structure in the middle of a field. You enter and notice that everyone evacuated here. You settle in. Inside the dome, there's a construction of a giant vehicle the size of 3 malls. It'll be the new mobile city. 1 year later, the Earth's surface grew by 500 miles. Some mountains grew larger, but some are embedded in the land. Forests and jungles lost around 90% of their trees. Oceans and seas created a new map formation since so much water was trapped underneath the land. All of this made oxygen levels drop. The gravitational force became even stronger, making it much more difficult to walk without catching a breath. Climbing hills is definitely not easy. Many tsunamis, volcanoes, and earthquakes destroyed lands and cities, and they're now happening more frequently than before. The heat from the Earth's core is getting stronger. The entire world economy collapsed as soon as the Earth started to get bigger. Digging for oil is now impossible, so you can't use any vehicle that's gas-powered. The vehicles of today have specialized wheels for rough terrain and are powered by the sun. Everyone lives in those giant domes with huge wheels to constantly change location whenever it gets risky. Congratulations! You're now one of the dome drivers, and you're heading to the East Coast. The place is packed with around 5,000 people living and working inside. Everyone has specific responsibilities so that the area there can be well maintained. But wait, traffic? Another mobile dome city is in front of you, and it's barely moving. As long as everyone's in the dome, they're safe. For now.
You're relaxing in your room and streaming some good tunes when suddenly the network's down. You try rebooting your phone, but there's still no connection. Out of nowhere, your sister barges into your room in panic. She's screaming something about rings. Boxing rings? Wedding rings? Rings on the tub? She's not making any sense. So she drags you out of the house and shows you the sky. You take a look up and see streaks of objects forming miles above the Earth's surface. Her connection seems to work. The two of you check online what's going on, and everywhere the same thing is making headlines. Rings are suddenly appearing in our sky. #EarthRings is breaking the record, and videos are going super viral. Your sister can't help but join the crowd and takes a bunch of selfies with the sky. You run to the TV in your living room to check out the news. Scientists are warning about a coming catastrophe and explaining that everyone should remain indoors. Even though it's a cloudless day in the middle of summer, the weather seems to be getting colder and colder. Suddenly, the signal's cut off. Other channels show nothing either. Then you see your neighbors packing their bags and heading out. Others follow suit. You hesitate a bit, but decide to do the same in the end. Your sister is still outside taking selfies when you urge her to come along with you to seek some answers. The two of you hop in your car and drive out into the city. The rings above seem to be gaining more mass with each second. You and your sister are getting colder and colder. You head to the university to see if anyone knows anything, but there's no one there. Only one parked car in the lot. And it's a good thing you recognize that car. You and your sister rush in and find the astronomy professor doing some quick calculations and trying to figure out why all this is happening. He urges you to take seats and begins explaining. No one knows what this is all about, but it's limiting the sun's exposure on Earth, which explains why it's getting colder by the minute. Why the rings are getting thicker is a mystery too. On Saturn, the rings are made up of ice and rock particles. They can be as small as an ant or the size of a bus. The rocks could be leftover meteor debris or even remnants of dwarf planets. But since Earth is so close to the sun, ice wouldn't be something you'd find floating above us. With all these rocks piled up, they block the Earth's access to sun to warm us up and give us light. The professor goes on to explain that Earth will enter a new ice age, and oxygen levels will deplete within a year's time unless those newborn rings disappear anytime soon. This also explains why there's no connection. The rocks that form the rings are hitting and breaking the satellites. Suddenly, you hear a loud ringing noise outside. The three of you head outside and see a helicopter blasting an alarm with a red light flashing. Everyone to your homes now! This is not a drill! Everyone, head home! You get in your car with your sister, but the roads are jammed. You have to go on foot, which will take 2 hours. There's no way anyone can remain outdoors. You venture out seeing everyone stuck on the road. They're all arguing with each other and causing chaos. You try not to get caught in the middle of anything and sneak your way to the highway. With the rings getting thicker, less sunlight is breaking through. This Ice Age info is stuck in your head, chilling you even more. You take a deep breath and see a thin mist coming out of your mouth. The sky is getting darker and you're still not home yet. Your sister is tired and needs to rest, but you urge her to move on. You find an abandoned clothes shop and head inside. The store clerks are actually giving away thick jackets for everyone to wear. You grab a couple and slip them on. Only 1 more hour to get home, but the sky is completely dark. There's no way you and your sister can go out in such conditions, so you decide to camp up in the clothes shop. They set up a mini bonfire in the middle of the shop and create makeshift sleeping bags with the rest of the unused clothes. Luckily, there's enough food to feed everyone, including you and your sister. It's the middle of the night. The fire goes out and you can't see outside the shop. You head to the window and open it up. A huge pile of snow spills in and wakes everyone up. It's the middle of August, and a snowstorm formed overnight. Everyone is freezing, and they start the fire anew. There's no radio or any way to find out what's happening. The wind picks up and starts shaking the shop. Things start falling off the shelves, but you and everyone else are cozy by the fire. The next day, you look outside and see the entire area covered in snow. You live in a sunny place where it barely rains, and the rings in the outer atmosphere are even bigger than last night. Out of nowhere, a truck filled with people pulls over, and the driver tells you there's a shelter for everyone some miles away. The truck has chains all over the tires and is equipped for the worst snowy conditions. Even though it's morning, the sky is pretty dark. You and everyone else hop in. Abandoned cars, some with their doors still open, are scattered all over. The truck drives around them or just smashes through the ones in the way. It pulls over next to an ambulance and takes all the equipment to help the ones in need. You drive past your neighborhood and see your entire house covered in snow. The large tree in your backyard has fallen under the weight of the snow and broken the roof, allowing snow to flood in. The truck speeds through and gets to the shelter, which, to your surprise, is the mall. You get out and see many of the townspeople being led to various stores that have now turned into dorms and health units. You're left in a sports store with a bunch of other people. Your sister has also been able to bunk with you, and to your luck, you see the professor helping out some people. But shortly after that, a loud explosion blasts through the mall and shatters glass screens. Everyone ducks for cover. You see people running outside. You head out and see a large metallic object lying in front of the mall entrance. There are people crowding the entire area, so it's not easy to see what all the fuss is about. But after getting a closer look, you find out it's a satellite fallen from orbit. It crashed in the front yard and made the boom. There were also reports of other satellites crashing on Earth in the most random places. That means all communication has been wiped out of the map. You run back inside the mall to await what happens next. You look at your sister in fear, not knowing that the new Ice Age has just begun. One year later, you're relaxing in your bunker when your sister barges in, freaking out. The rings are still there, but it's something else now. You run outside and see everyone gathering around and looking at the sky. Within a year, temperatures have dropped to freeze the entirety of the Earth's surface. Deserts and tropical jungles have turned into icy wastelands. More than half of the wildlife went extinct, and trees are as rare as a four-leaf clover, which means oxygen levels have dropped significantly. Most of the population, or what's remaining of it, live with oxygen tanks, with scientists still trying to crack the case of the rings. Exactly what the professor predicted. But up in the sky, rocks seem to be falling down and crashing all over. It starts off far away, but then the rocks begin to fall down close by. You and everyone else run back into the mall, which has been covered with a layer of metal to keep the warmth inside. It should be pretty safe in there. If the rocks are falling down, that means the rings are dissipating. Suddenly, you're full of hope that the Ice Age might be over soon.
You decide to go out for a morning jog for the first time in your life. You put on your headphones and get ready for something hard and unpleasant. But as soon as you go outside, you feel an extraordinary lightness. At first, you enjoy it and speed up, but then you realize that something's wrong. You're running too fast and too easily. You feel like you've just taken off a heavy backpack that you've been carrying all your life. You're so fast, you think you must have a superpower now. But you notice another athlete running as quickly as you. You notice a puddle ahead of you and jump over it. You jump so far and so high, it feels physically impossible. You fall to the ground, shocked. Then you notice there are no scratches on your body, and the ground feels lighter. You stop the music in your headphones and turn on the radio. All the news reports say the gravity on the entire planet has decreased by half. Thanks to gravity, we stand on the ground and don't fly away into the sky. This power allows our planet to revolve around the sun and the moon to revolve around us. Heavy things seem heavy because of gravity. And now, something has happened to the Earth's core, and the mass of our planet has decreased. This is the reason for the change in gravity. People happily run out of their houses and jump twice as high and further than they used to. Any objects seem twice as light to you. Your body has become lighter, so you can easily stand on your hands. But still, you don't feel like a superhero. You can't lift a car, even if its weight was reduced by half. But now, parkour is easier for everyone than before. Your body's weight has decreased, which means you get less damage when you fall. However, panic quickly replaces the joy of the new conditions. It becomes hard for you to breathe, the same as all other people. The air has become lighter. The updated force of gravity has reduced the air pressure by half. Now you feel like you're at an altitude of 16,500 feet among the streets of a usual town. It's like you're halfway to the top of Mount Everest. The air is no longer as dense, and the main part of it has settled in the atmosphere. In the beginning, everyone experiences massive dizziness and panic. You feel like there's not enough air in your lungs, so you get nervous. To solve this problem, you have to learn to breathe slowly and evenly. Thanks to this, you calm down a bit. Others also learn to be more balanced and don't live in a hurry anymore. All of you experience less stress and enjoy every day. Then scientists create unique oxygen masks. You put it on, take a breath, and a special filter puts pressure on the oxygen molecules, making the air denser. After a couple of decades, people will take off these masks as they'll ultimately get used to the new conditions. New generations will be born with adapted lungs. The Earth's atmosphere is expanding. It seems the sky has risen higher and acquired a darkish hue. Satellites flying around the Earth's orbit are now inside our atmosphere, but the Earth's gravity still attracts them. You see thousands of satellites burning up. Some of the space debris survives the atmospheric shield and falls to the ground. A meteor shower begins. Space trash crashes into houses, roads, trees, and cars. You and the rest of the people decide to wait out the storm underground, in the subway or basements. Fortunately, the shower doesn't last long. People come out of their hiding and look at the sky in surprise. The moon changes its previous position and slowly flies away. Soon it disappears completely. Our planet is now like a heavy ball in the center of a huge blanket. That blanket is gravity. It bends under the ball's weight. If you put any light object on the blanket, it will roll down to Earth. But if an object is moving at high speed, it will be able to spin on the blanket's edge and not fall into the center. Thanks to such speed, the moon doesn't fall on us, but at the same time, it can't fly away. Now that gravity has decreased, the blanket has become twice as loose. The rotation speed allows the moon to fly out of our gravitational field. It just goes into space. People will be able to observe the wandering moon for a long time through telescopes. Meteorites might crash into it. It could also find another planet with stronger gravity and will revolve around this new home. The moon may stay in place, but will be revolving around the Earth at a slower speed. In any case, there will be no more tides on our planet, and the sea level will remain the same. In the sea, you can also feel the changes. It's much easier for you to stay on the water, and you can swim faster. But the coolest thing is running along the shore. The splashes are floating in different directions, so slowly and beautifully. The waves are running on the sand in slow motion too. The weight of cars, planes, and ships has reduced, and so people consume less gas now. You can drive twice as far with a full tank. Fuel transportation is easier, and less energy is spent on flights. Gasoline is becoming cheaper. The decrease in gravity inspires space tourism development. It becomes much easier for people to fly out of the Earth's orbit. Winter has come. You're walking down the street during a snowfall. It seems to you the snowflakes are stuck in the air as they're so slow. You step on the ice and realize that it's almost impossible to walk on such a slippery surface. Your weight has decreased, and the pressure of your feet on the ice is twice as weak. You're sliding and can't stop. You often fall, but you don't feel any harm. When the wind is strong, it's hard to stay on your feet. If you jump, you may even fly away. The grip of wheels on the road deteriorates. A driver can no longer brake abruptly. The wheels don't spin, but the car continues to slide for a while. That's why new speed limits are being introduced all over the world. You can still enjoy extraordinary strength and long jumps, but after a few generations, the human body will evolve and fully adapt to these conditions. People and animals will be born taller and bulkier. Majestic tigers the size of a truck are walking through the city streets. Flamingos the size of a plane are flying in the dark blue sky. But the worst thing is that the size of insects has increased too. A regular cockroach can now grow to be the size of a computer mouse, and tarantulas become twice the size of an adult palm. At the same time, all living beings become lighter in weight. Humans will become elegant and agile creatures. Our bones and muscles will stretch. The structure of the entire human body will change. We'll become thinner and smoother. Blood in the veins and vessels will flow more slowly, and it will greatly impair the brain's work, but only in the beginning. In the future, the body will expand. The brain will increase, as will the number of neural connections inside. The lungs will become more sensitive and spacious. People will be smarter and wiser. All devices and materials will be developed according to the new conditions. A cup, a pencil, a plate, phones, and other gadgets. Everything will get lighter and more fragile. If an ordinary person gets into such a world, they'll feel like a superhero. You'll be able to punch through lightweight walls and doors and break bricks with your hand. New people won't match your power. but you'll seem too small and clumsy to them.